Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. It's an honor to be in front of you all and give this briefing on the WMO reform. And to all of you guys on the phone, again, thank you so much for joining today. So I'm going to be discussing the WMO reform that took place from the 3rd of June through the 15th of June this year in Geneva, Switzerland. And I'm going to be going over briefly a little bit of the history of WMO, some of its accomplishments, who is the WMO today, and saying goodbye to the old, welcoming in the new, and what's in it for us as an OAR organization or OAR body. So really quickly, so the WMO is the UN specialized agency for weather, climate, and water. It is the second oldest UN agency, was established in 1873 and is still going strong today. Like I said, we're going through, or WMO is going through a reform that will be modernizing its efforts and activities around climate, water, and ocean. And currently it has 193 member states. 2 were added, established this past Congress, the Principality of Andorra and the Republic of Nauru. And it is on a 4-year budget, as you can see there, and has over 300 employees. This is the WMO strategic plan for 2020 through 2030. The long-term goals are in the blue boxes, as you can see: services, systems, science, support to members, and also becoming a smart organization. So where did this all begin? After 52 meteorologists met to discuss forming an international Met Corporation, the International Met Congress in Vienna was held in September 1873. So here is pictured Professor Ballot, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, but he was the first IMO president between 1873 and 1879. He established the Permanent Meteorological Committee, and after becoming the first president, moved it further into the activities that you see today, that we're going to be discussing today. But before that, here is a picture of the Congress in 1951, when it became a specialized agency of the UN. And between 1891 and 1907, the permanent technical commissions, which we'll be talking about again, were formed. There were six of them that were formed. And then in 1935, the regional commissions were also established, with their function being to ensure better implementation of IMO resolutions. Moving on quickly to the accomplishments of the WMO over the years. As you can see, there are a myriad of different organizations, and starting with WCRP, WWRP, the International Geophysical Year, that emblem there. But they have accomplished quite a bit over the years. And just briefly going over, in 1957, the Global Ozone Observing System was set up. In 1978, the Global Weather Experiments and Monsoon Experiments under the Global Atmosphere Research Program was established. 1987, the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. 1992, GCOS, the Global Climate Observing System, was established. In 1993, the World Hydrological Cycle Observing System, WICOS, was launched. And then WWRP close, and soon after that in 1998. 2000, the launch of the International Polar Year 2007. 2008 was co-sponsored by the International Council of Science and WMO. So they have accomplished quite a bit over the years. So as WMO modernizes and moves from the old into the new, its goal is to remain fit for purpose, to become more nimble and cost effective. And this diagram is showing effectiveness and efficiency is key, seamless integration, agile responsiveness, as well as engagement of members and experts. The engagement doesn't just include the members, but also other organizations outside of WMO that can help move its activities forward. There's also an enhanced role for the regional associations. We talked really quickly about how they were formed when they first began hundreds of years ago. And this is depicting a greater integration between the regional associations and the technical commissions. Having science on the side, as well as political and regional groups on the side, as well, to shore up and to support the integration of these two bodies as we implement the transition process. So before I move on, you can see there's Congress and EC listed there. Just want to kind of define those terms because we'll start to talk a little bit more about the reform in detail as we go through. So the WMO Congress is the supreme body of the organization. Again, there are 193 members. It includes all of the members. They meet every 4 years. All 193 get to vote on different resolutions that are presented to the body. The last Congress was held in June of this year, and there's going to be an extraordinary session. That just means that during Congress every 4 years, they have a lot of different topics of discussion, but for extraordinary sessions, they only focus on specific topics. So the extraordinary session in 2021 will be 5 days, and we'll only be discussing the reform, how it's going, as well as the hydrological services piece of it. Executive Council is the executive body of the organization, but not all member states are a part of this body. There are 37 members, of which the US is a member and participant, and it meets annually to implement all of the different resolutions and agreements that were decided upon during WMO Congress. Okay, so let's get into what it used to look like and what it does look like or will look like at the end of this year. So Congress, again, is on top, the supreme body. I think of the Congress as the CEO. They are the drivers, the visionaries, and are looking forward thinking and looking towards the future. The Executive Council right underneath that is our COO, the operators. They're the ones who take Congress's decisions and they say, and they take those activities and they try to implement those over the years. On the sides, you have the regional associations and the technical commissions. Again, this is the old WMO structure. So you'll have all the Commission on Basic Service Systems, the CBS. CMO is a part of that right now until December 2019, all the way down to the Commission for Climatology. The regional associations were not touched during Congress this year, so they're largely untouched, and they are those 6 of those. The Secretariat General on the bottom is basically the ones who run the Executive Council. This is the staff. So what does it look like now, today? This is what it looks like. So you can see those long-term goals to the left, far left, and then everything in between, or everything in the blue box. The only thing that is old, actually none of that is old. All of those are all new from the new Congress. The Services Commission, Infrastructure Commission went from those 8 TCs from the old to the right there. Those 8 got cut down into the 2, Services and Infrastructure. The Research Board is another new body. And the regional, okay, yeah, so the regional associations are the only thing that wasn't touched. So there's one thing on here that is not new. The Policy Advisory Committee and the Technical Coordination Committees are more of the bodies that are governing how all this implementation is taking place and all the activities that happen. The Policy Advisory Committee, you'll see, is under the Executive Council, as well as the Technical Coordination Committee and the Scientific Advisory Panels. So the green box means that those decisions were made and established by Executive Council. That's what EC stands for, Executive Council 70. That was the 70th meeting of the Executive Council. The yellow box, the Executive Council 70 recommended those to Congress. Again, that's intergovernmental. And then Executive Council for the blue boxes, the Research Board and the Scientific Advisory Panel. Executive Council 70 recommended to Congress for the new scientific bodies, and that was non-intergovernmental. So who is the WMO leadership? So I mentioned we met at Congress, and Congress meets every 4 years. They also elect leadership every 4 years. So David Grimes, the current president of WMO, will be leaving at the end of the year and passing on the baton to President-elect WMO, Professor Gerhard Adrian from Germany. They also elected 3 new vice presidents of the organizations. First Vice President Celeste Saulo from Argentina. Second Vice President Dr. Albert Martis from Curacao. And Dr. Agnes Kijazi from Tanzania, the 3rd Vice President. So here is the Executive Council or Secretariat Leadership. We have Secretary General Petri Talas, who was re-elected as an SG this year, and he's going to be there again as the Secretary General. His Deputy Secretary General is Dr. Elena Menenkova. His Assistant Secretary General is Dr. Weijing Zhang, and newly appointed Chief Scientist and Research Director, Professor Pavel Kabat. So going quickly into the Executive Council and its bodies. So the FINAC, or the Financial Advisory Committee, is run by the Executive Council, and this deals with all of the budget and the numbers of the organization. The Technical Coordination Committee, again, that's new, and they have underneath it the Climate Coordination Panel, also new, the Hydro Coordination Panel, again new, Polar and Capacity Development Panels, and the Joint WMO IOC Collaborative Board that is new. Going back here, and that's really important, so going back here, you can see where JCOM used to be. JCOM is no longer an activity, and has now become the JCB, which is the Joint WMO IOC Collaborative Board. Then the Policy Advisory Committee is to the far right, your far right, and the Scientific Advisory Panel is new, 15 members, 2 of which are from the US, Dr. Amanda Lynch from Brown, and Dr. Leighton Meyer, who is has a USGS background, I believe. So quickly, the Financial Advisory Committee, again, like I said, provides advice to the Congress and Executive Council on budgetary issues, and they meet annually. This committee is open to all WMO members. Under the panels, the composition of the various panels, they're different. And so if you need any information about that, I can give that to you. But again, just to point out the JCB, the Joint WMO IOC Collaborative Board, they're going to be discussing all of the JCOM activities that have taken place over the years and how those activities will get put into the new technical commissions that we've talked about, which are services and infrastructure. Okay. Briefly discussing the regional associations, there are 6 of them. The US is part of Region 4 and Region 5. They attend meetings for Region 5, the Southwest Pacific, but they're voting members and participate more directly under Region 4. obviously the North America, Central America region, and Caribbean region. Just a quick breakdown of what that looks like. Okay, a reminder again here what it looked like before, because we're going to start talking a little bit specifically to the technical commissions. These are the technical commissions that are still available, still around until December 2019, with their presidents and their vice presidents. All of these will now become the 2 services and infrastructure, starting with services. If you notice, the aeronautical, meteorological, marine meteorological, agrometeorological, these all were activities, or these all were commissions on the right-hand side of the old structure. So these are proposed standing committees, and under those standing committees, they'll form their timeline, how they meet, when they meet, who is supposed to be part of those committees, and if there are any other bodies that will be coming out of those committees. Our president for, or WMO president for services is Ian Lisk from the UK, Northern Ireland, and his vice presidents for the Services Commission are from China, Australia, and Spain. Again, likewise, the Infrastructure Committee, all of these standing committees are part and parcel from the old technical commissions that used to be. And these are again proposed, and how the Infrastructure Committee decides to set up its own working arrangements, that's how it's going to be. So the vice presidents we have are from Australia, Italy, and 2 from Italy. I wanted to put this slide in here because this was another important thing that happened during Congress. We had a Hydrological Assembly, and they were tasked with figuring out a vision for hydrology and coming up with the definition of operational hydrology. It was my first Congress, so I gathered that there were a lot of issues around the definition for hydrology, because different countries look at hydrology different ways. They're structured differently. They may not be under Met Services. It may be a completely separate organization. And so in order to try to get a lot more participation from those experts, they needed to come up with a really good vision strategy, and also a definition to make sure that other countries, they could take that definition back to their respective governments and say, hey, this body needs to really engage in WMO. And it just allowed them a little bit more ease to do that. So here's the timeline for this transition and reform. There are lots of different acronyms here, or different symbols here, but I'll try to walk through it. So in June of 2019, Congress 18, the 18th Congress met. And then also during June, right after Congress was held, the Executive Council number 71 also met as well. There was a transition prep meeting that occurred, or that will occur in October of 2019, this year. And part of that is the JCB, the Interim Joint WMO IOC Collaborative Board meeting, trying to figure out who will be proposed, what proposed names will be coming from IOC as well as WMO to formulate and to create this body to help with transition of the JCOM activities, as well as other things. So between January 20 and December 21, there's going to be a lot of reform activities happening. TC means Technical Commission, Technical Commission 1, Technical Commission 2. The research body is supposed to be meeting in April of 2020 in a joint session, again, trying to understand how we're moving forward with transition. Then, if you remember, the Executive Council meets every year. So soon after, in June of 20, the Executive Council 72 will be meeting. And then in January 21, the Regional Association sessions between September 20th and April 21st, the Regional Associations should be meeting with their bodies. Then CGEXT just means the Extraordinary Session of Congress, June 21, will only be talking about the reform that has been going on, as well as hydrological issues and topics. Again, June 21, the Executive Council 73 will meet, and we can go on down through this timeline. One thing I wanted to make sure to mention is that the Research Board also has a WMO Scientific Summit conference of some sort that has also been proposed to be held. And when during this timeline is going to happen, we're not quite sure, but that is in the works with Dr. Pavel Kabat to figure out when that will happen. So our permanent representative to the WMO is Louis Uccellini. We all know who he is. And he represents us at WMO Congress, the Executive Council, and delegates regional association meetings as needed. He also is the person who appoints officially members to the technical commissions, all of the different constituent bodies within WMO. He is the head, and he signs the letters and sends memos out to WMO approving these experts to the TCs or whatever other standing bodies there are. So here are key issues to the WMO for the US. And it's really important, again, to point this out, because from OAR perspective, we really need to make sure that we have the data and the information to substantiate our key issues as a nation. So some of which are the environmental data and product exchange systems, WIS and WIGOS. Under governance, again, we participate there in the audit committee, budget committees, and then climate is also a part of this, the World Climate Program, the Global Framework of Climate Services, and again, capacity development. So how can OAR engage? What's in it for us? So I've talked a lot about the Services Commission. I've talked a little bit about the Infrastructure Commission. We definitely will be playing a part there because some of the JCOM activities will be split into those two, as well as some of the climate activities will be in the Services Commission. But beyond that, the Research Board also has a lot of room to engage. And when the technical commissions have set their rhythm on when they meet, how they meet, there may be also some expert teams that are formulated out of those. These are still quite up in the air, and we're trying to figure out how we as OAR will fit into this. And I will be going out to the labs and talking a little bit more about WMO and what we have been doing with WMO before. I know that Jim Butler out in Israel has done a lot with greenhouse gases, and so has Roger Pulwarty. Of course, NWS is involved. But we as OAR, where can we fit into each of these bodies that are available to us? I want to point out this slide again because one other thing, there's so many important things during Congress, but another thing that was really important was this smart organization, and in particular, advancing equal, effective, and inclusive participation. There was a gender balance or gender workshop that took place, and there was also a panel during Congress, along with a lot of resolutions that talked about the gender balance of the constituent bodies, all the way from the top of the vice presidents, the presidents, all the way down to the commissions and how those were made up. And gender was a big issue. And so as us, the OAR, think about who we're going to be, how we're going to be engaging, and who we're going to be putting forth to be an expert in these various working bodies and bodies of the WMO, we really need to be thinking hard about getting new blood, but also getting females into the mix of the WMO and getting them exposure as well. So it was really important then, and it's something that we should be thinking about when we're sending names, proposed names for different bodies as that trickles down. And that is the end of my presentation. It was a lot, and I didn't go down into the weeds, and I am by no means an expert. This was my first Congress, and I gleaned a lot of information, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Can we have a round of applause for Monique? Any questions in the room?
Yes.
So I work with another group that's not hard to do with, it's the International Hydrographic Organization.
Okay.
So I'm very interested if you all just continue to go through the same exact process here.
Yes.
That last slide that you had with vision, objectives, and things like that, targets, is that a WMO slide, or did you all create that?
So that's a WMO slide, yes.
And is the strategic plan up on the web yet?
So the approved strategic plan, I'm not sure if it's up on the web, but I do have a copy if you would like to see that. I can get that to you. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions online.
Yes.
So someone asked, what is going to happen with scientific advisor groups, specifically under WMO GAW program, which includes stratospheric ozone observations and networks?
Yeah, so the GAW program, so Dr. Kabat, Pavel Kabat, he is the research scientist that has the GAW, WWRP, and WCRP under his portfolio. And so I've reached out to him on research board activities, and they're still trying to plan a lot of the transitions. So I'm not sure that he's gone and delved into the GAW. I could be wrong, but right now it's still very, very much higher level planning, but more will come, I'm sure. And I will be able to talk, broadly across OAR about those opportunities. Okay, that helps.
And then we have a couple more questions. So someone would like to know if there are any efforts underway to develop, for example, a microwave instrument to fly on geostationary satellites of various nations.
Yeah, so that's really, really detailed in the weeds, and in one of the standing committees that might take that on. I don't have that answer. We're just trying to figure out who's going to make up the body right now.
Great. And so last question for right now, does WMO plan to make any changes to RMICs?
I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. I'm not sure. And make any changes to RMICs?
Regional Specialized Meteorological Centers?
I think, is that what it is?
That may be, they just wrote the
acronym. RMIC. It might be. Yeah, we're not clear on that. I haven't heard any discussions around that.
Yeah. Any other questions in the room for now?
Well, can you explain a little bit? I mean, you did, Monique, but what was the real sort of thrust that made the WMO decide to, to take this action and to really rethink strategies?
Yeah.
Was it just time, or were there different forces at play?
Yeah. So there are lots of drivers. Actually, I have a slide that I just didn't brief on the reform. A lot of it was integration of the research of the regional bodies and technical commissions. There was just not a lot of integration there. Also, I think the move towards coupling and understanding where the science was moving towards, they really wanted to make sure that they were capturing the needs of the users and making sure the demand was, we were in line, or WMO was in line with demand. The other thing was the outside organization that talks about, so WHO, FAO, ICAO, these are all World Bank. These are all key partners that they're trying to bring in and leverage, as well as private corporations as well. So there was a panel on private during Congress. So it was a lot of different things and being more efficient money-wise. So I talked a little bit about the budget. So what I didn't mention was that the budget that was approved was a 2+2, meaning there was a 2% increase in the budget, but then they needed to go back and look for 2% efficiencies among the activities that were there as well. So there was a call for increasing the budget, and there was a lot of pushback on that. But one of the key things when they were talking about the budget was that it had been stagnant, and so with inflation, if you stay at the same level, it may not, you're not keeping up with inflation, and so there was a lot of discussions around that, and so that happened there too. So yeah, so there were a lot of different drivers. And another slide that I didn't show was that there were lots of discussions that happened even before Congress, that happened during with Executive Council, with different specialized committees over a course of a number of years before they actually settled on what it would look like and try to implement now. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right, and then we had another online question.
Yes.
Someone asked, are the JCOM reforms complete? We have 2 female employees serving in expert teams and wondering where these will live.
Yes, so that's our first order of business is the JCB. So they have had one principal JCB, when I say principal, I mean country level JCB meeting. And the trickle down effects right now is I am gathering proposed names from OAR writ large as to who will possibly be part of that team. Let me delve into this a little bit more. So the JCB, there are 5 different streams of effort. I think there's forecasting systems, there's research, there's odds, there's data, and there's one more. And within those specific themes and topics, we needed experts, not only from the WMO side, but also from the IOC side. So right now we're proposing names to Dr. Lou Icciolini for all of those 5 areas that quite possibly could be the makeup of the JCB. And the same is going to happen for IOC. So once all of that happens, and then we know who is going to be a part of this, and then they start there figuring out who else is going to be part of the teams and where the activities are going to go. That's kind of the rhythm for JCB right now, but it's still bubbling up. But those are the first few activities we're doing now.
And then someone did ask if you could clarify what JCB stands for.
Yes, the Joint WMO IOC Collaborative Board. Yeah. So here's the old structure. So you can see JCOM was part of the Technical Commission. So when we go to the new structure, it no longer exists. It becomes, and it's not on here. Okay. Yeah, it's going to go away, and it becomes the Joint WMO IOC Collaborative Board that sits in the Executive Council.
All right, and another question has come in. So all of the current commissions have activities and deliverables that they're working on. What will happen with those products when the WMO transitions to the new structure?
I assume they're just going to go on the WMO website. Nothing gets thrown away. It's all there, ready to pull down, and we just transition into the new TCs, technical commissions.
Any other questions?
Yes.
How many countries and members of the Executive Council?
Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah, the question was how many countries in the Executive Council, if you can do my thing. Yeah, there's 37. Yeah, so there are 37 members.
I couldn't see the strategic plan.
Yes.
Are you planning to do anything on open data and big data?
I don't know that specific. If you send me an email, I'll try to get an answer to you. The question was, are you planning on doing anything with big data or open data? There are definitely data systems within WMO. I just don't. I'm not very well versed in that area.
And I do have one last question.
Yes.
So, so when the executive council meets, okay, they're just going to be focusing on the implementation of the reorg. But there is also going to be a hydrology.
Yes. Okay. So do you want me to go back to the timeline? Is that where you're here?
Yeah. Yeah. Or the one, I think the one before it, I think had. That's it.
Yes. So the Hydrology Assembly happens every Congress as well.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. So every Congress, the Hydrological Coordination Panel, they meet every year.
Okay.
Yes, the panel meets every year. Or I guess Hydrology Assembly meets every 2 years. But I want to say that.
So it was the deal was trying to clear up the definition of hydrology so that.
Yes, it was a big deal for
talking about the same things.
Well, yeah, talking about the same things, but making sure that it's easy for countries to participate. So if one thing I should say that it's the resolutions that are voted on you have to have consensus from the body. So and David Grimes did a beautiful job. It was just an expert. It was so fluid. It was beautiful. Anyway, he would just in taking people's comments about specific words and phrases and trying to incorporate it into this specific resolution so that that country can now take that and go to its government and say, hey, this is in line with what we're thinking and we can actually participate here. Let's do more. Instead of having it be a US centric, for example, and they can't really use that when they go back to their country.
And then we just had one question with someone who wanted to point out that the staff support for Dr. Uccellini resides with NWS International, and people can also direct questions regarding U.S. engagement in WMO with Courtney Dragon.
Yep.
So that was just a comment that we had. And Courtney's last name is spelled Draggon.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, we don't have any more questions online.
I was sort of struck that I didn't see as many U.S. or NOAA leads. But, just sitting back here looking at who's the president, who's the chair of the committee.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be lots more U.S. science representation. Is that anything correct?
I can't comment to that, but I will say that there are, the U.S. participation in WMO is large and varied, and it's not just I'm just kind of focused on OAR because I know who it is, and someone just mentioned NWS. NWS is the actual lead because Dr. Uccellini is the PR permanent representative, so he's the actual lead, and with OAR, there's Roger Griffiths, the GHGs is part of that. Not Roger Griffiths. Roger Pawardy, and then GHGs are also part of that. And there are different people at different levels of the organization that do participate. Leadership, though, I understand your point. Leadership-wise, I really can't comment on why there aren't very many U.S. people, but I will say that they do try. Courtney does a really good job. She does try to balance. Courtney and Dr. Uccellini do try to balance who is going to be the representative of the leader based on regional. So remember those regional associations, there were 6 of those. And so you can't have all the leaders be from Regional 4. You have to make sure you balance that out. And if you noticed, for the vice presidents, there were different leaders from different regions. Well, I mean, I noticed, but that's where it's kind of trying to balance that out a little bit.
All right, so we'll just do a last call for questions. I don't see anything else online. All right, so thanks everyone for joining us. We'll leave it there for now, and thank you, Monique.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you guys so much for coming.